What's up, dudes? So I've got a lot of hate on my last gambling video, and I will admit I made a few mistakes. Some people aren't aware that was one of my first videos almost a year ago, and I just kind of wanted to come back and try to maybe give you guys a little better quality content, as I've been trying to do lately, but still some people hating out there, and that's okay. I understand that you know, some of the types of videos that I make could be quite boring, but for newer players, I mean, I would like to think that I give some useful information. So I've been practicing for a couple months with the Rust gambling wheel in the Bandit camp, and I think I've come up with a pretty good tactic to where you can profit and not waste time, to where you could just be going and farming scrap. And with the recent nerf to the oil rig, I figured this would be a good like 80 to 90% chance of making as much as you used to over there. So like, the purpose of this would be, you've been playing for a while, you've got a stack of scrap or multiple stacks of scrap, and you're just trying to get some tier 3 BPs or tier 2 BPs, or get something researched, or you're just bored and you want to try to make some scrap so you can go buy some LRs. So I think I've come up with a pretty good tactic. If you come here with a stack, it doesn't necessarily have to be a stack. I would just split it into 8 even sections, and now we're going to stare at the wheel for a little bit. I changed the timer. I don't like this seat. This is my lucky seat. So I changed the timer to like 20 seconds, I think, so that we don't have to sit here and wait for a minute every single time. So we're gonna sit and stare at the wheel for a minute. When you notice it landed on a 3 and then a 1. So now this is gonna require some intuition and patience, and you might be better off going out and farming barrels or whatever. That's completely up to you. But if you want to get some high risk, high reward scrap betting going on, then man, this technique is going to be for you, because I have won a hell of a lot of scrap on some modded servers testing this out. I think one time I won like 25,000 scrap, and I just farmed a couple barrels. All right, so we hit a 3, we hit a 1, we hit a 5. Our tactic that we're going to do is only betting on 3 and 5, and we're going to do it at the same time. So we've got 4 chances right here, because we're going to be betting 125 on 3 and 125 on 5. Since it just landed on 5, I'm going to wait it out for the next roll. If it hits an after party on a 5 or a 3 for us, then we're gonna have to wait another roll, and you'll see what I mean here in a second. So if it doesn't land on 3, it landed on 20. I mean, that's a really rare that it would land on 20, but I think we should go in at this point, because it's been a 3, a 1, a 5, and then a 20. So chances are, with the recent pattern, that it's going to be a 3 or a 5. It's all based off intuition and patience, because if you hit that 3 or 5, you're going to be making a lot of scrap off of it, depending on how much you're going in on it with. And you look right there. Oh, yes. You see what I mean? So now that we hit the 5, we're going to sit it out for a minute. So we almost doubled our scrap already, just off some patience. I guess we gained 1.5 times the amount, if I'm doing my math correctly. I will admit, in my previous video, I messed up some math. So I'm gonna admit I'm not the best at math, man, but that's okay. So now, good thing we sat this one out, because it landed on a 10, and it seems that there's an alternating pattern here. So since we've won quite a bit, we can throw away, what is that, 250? We'll throw away 250. We're still in the profit for 250, and I just got a feeling that it's gonna hit a 3 or 5, because it's been in an alternating pattern right now, meaning that it's hit a 3 or it's hit a 5 every other time since we sat down and started paying attention to it. And you're gonna want to look for patterns like that, because they will continue for a while. But it looks like it hit 10 twice for us, and at this point, my intuition is telling me that it's going to hit really, really good for us on this next roll, because it just hit 10 10 twice in a row right after a 5, so I'm feeling that it's going to be a 3 or a 1. And it's kind of a 50-50 odds up in the air. I would have sat this out, but since we profited, I might as well just try to go in on it. And I'm doubling down because we just lost. And we lost again. So now at this point, we've lost 3 in a row technically, but we sat one out. And since it's landed on a 5, a 10 and a 10, and then a 1, you know, statistically, it has a high chance of landing on a 3 or a 5. Oh, I didn't get to put it in because the timer's going fast, but you know what I mean. If it lands on a 5, I'm going to count it as a win because I've got it times 2 speed. So, I mean, in vanilla, that would have actually hit. Boom. Look, so we would have actually won on that one. But I forgot that I changed the timer on it. So you know what I mean? This tactic is pretty decent, but it requires you to notice patterns because you cannot statistically beat the system, but your intuition can if you notice patterns. There's different types of patterns with roulette wheels, and that's why I would probably get kicked out if I ever went to a casino because I would sit there all day and milk them all day, dude. But you know what I mean? So like I would have sat this one out because I just won. When you win, you want to sit it out and see what happens next because the chances of it landing on a 5 or a 3 after it lands on a 5 and a 3 are pretty rare. So after you win, I would sit it out for 1 or 2. Honestly, I would probably sit this one out for 2. After hitting 2 5s, we would have been up. I went in for 500, so we would have, or something like that, like 375 is what I went in for, so we would have profited almost like 2,250 or something like that. And then good thing that I would have sat that one out right there. And then at this point, I would probably go back in with our initial base bet, which was 125. I do believe it. Yeah, it was 125. And in a few seconds here, we would see if we win again or not. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. So I would have went in right here after sitting out 2 after winning. That's usually what I do. I sit out 2 until I notice a pattern, and then I go in. If I lose, I double down, and then, you know what I mean? And then boom, look. It's just your intuition. You have to notice these patterns that the wheel has. It sounds kind of strange, but I mean, like, you just gotta trust me on it. Once you get it down, you sit there for a little bit, you'll start noticing these patterns, maybe going with like smaller amounts like 5 or 10 for your base bet. And then what I do is I sit down, I stare at the wheel for 2 to 10 rolls, and then figure out when I want to go in at. So I would have sat this one out and then lost, but you know what I mean? So like there's the chance that you could have an after party for your 3 or 5. That was a good example of it right there, but it is completely random. So you just have to notice the patterns. I sit down for about 10 and then go in when I feel like it's about to be a 3 or a 5 based off of the patterns that I've been noticing, because it changes up every like 5 to 27 spins for a noticeable pattern, and then it starts getting random again, and then another pattern emerges. So once I lose, I'll double down, and then if I lose again, I'll bet the same amount that I doubled down for, and then if I lose again, I'll just go all in, because the chances of it hitting a 3 or a 5 at that point are pretty high. And then when I win, I'll sit it out for 1 or 2 depending on what types of patterns I've noticed. But yeah, I hope I kind of got this information out of my head and verbalized in some sort of coherent manner. This is not gonna give you like 10,000%, 100% like profit like I said in my other video. What I meant by the 100% profit in my other video is that if you go in with small bets over time, you're going to 100% make your profit back. You know what I mean? So with the martingale system, I'm sure a bunch of people know what that is and how it works and how it would work for this situation, and that the 100% profit didn't mean you're gonna make 100 times what you went in with. You're just gonna make at least 1 back. You know what I mean? You're not gonna lose scrap doing it the way that my other popular video about Rust gambling portrays. It's just a safe way with low risk, low reward. This is a high risk, high reward tactic that I wanted to show you guys. It's been a long time, almost a year. I knew I said I'd come out with another one, but I just really wanted to like kind of get it down to show you guys that it would work. And for me it has, but I've put quite a few hours into this, and I've gotten pretty good at noticing the patterns that emerge and when they emerge and when they're not around, and knowing when to sit out, knowing when to double down is just something that you're gonna have to feel it. You're just gonna have to feel it on the spot. You know, it hit 1 like 5 times and there was a 10 in there somewhere, so a 3 or 5 is about to come. If I lose on my base bet, then double down. If I lose on my double down and I have to go all in, then fuck it, just go all in, dude, on 3 and 5. Just bet on 3 and 5 every time that you're going in, and I promise you, you're gonna make some profit off of it if you sit out when you need to sit out. And if you win, I would not go back in for the after party, because it's probably not gonna hit like 70% of the time. But like I said, I hope I got these thoughts out of my head. This is something that is really hard to explain, because it's just something that I feel in my gut. You know what I mean? It's just the intuition. It's not something that I can really verbalize or create a strategy that's perfect that everybody can follow. It's just something you're gonna have to feel out, and I hope this video helped you guys out. And go on a modded server like a 10 times, try it out for yourself, or go on a build server if they allow you to give yourself scrap, and try to test this little tactic out that I have. But I will say I have made tons and tons of scrap using this tactic, and if you go in and quadruple your money, man, just dip, just sit it out right there. If you hit that 5 first try, you're done. Take a little break. You know what I mean? You just gotta know when to stop. You just need to know when to stop so you don't have to go all in if you're on a winning streak. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys learned something, and I'll catch you next time.